let's talk about spring. And certainly this is more fresh, but you can't do a recap without putting the completion of the story of Auburn spring sports into this. So a lot to mention in here very quickly before we spend some time on a few things. Baseball. Hey, we just talked about that recently. 41-20 made it to the Super Regionals and hosted the Super Regionals for the very first time. Softball, first years under the coaches Malveaux, as you will all be calling them soon enough. 35-24 in their first year. Men's golf made it to the final 8, lost to Virginia, unable to defend their national title. Women's golf made it to the regionals, but Anna Davis made it 2 individual championships at NCAA national championships. We had men's and women's tennis with pretty solid years. Coach Zabo in his first year had the women very strong into the super regionals for them, ending 25-7. And Coach Bobby Reynolds in men's tennis, 20-11, made it to the NCAA tournament to the second round, I believe, of what it is, or however that works in
I think
tennis.
that's right. Yep.
Yes. And finally, track and field, which we're definitely going to end this segment on, had strong years overall across the board, but certainly headlined by men who got 3rd place overall in NCAA championships in indoor and 4th place in outdoor. So I don't want us to not talk about baseball. I know we've been talking about it a lot, but any other statements, things that you want to add about Coach Butch Thompson and hosting a super regional for the first time? I know we've talked a lot about it recently, but there's got to be something else we haven't said yet.
Well, I mean, like you said, the headlines are the super regional hosting for the first time. Just a very memorable and historic moment for Auburn baseball. Another program who's had lots of success for Coach Thompson to do that and get them there for the first time, especially with the context of what was last year, and bouncing back and proving he is definitely still the man for this job. We will not be having any further discussions on if he is not.
Still bitter about that. Huh?
But just an incredible year. I think when you look at the guys that were on this team, the leaders, who have had very successful Auburn careers, and Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray, among others, and then what's to come, the future, the freshmen, they're still here, and the portal class they're building, certainly successful. A really fun year for Auburn baseball in itself.
And when you look at the spring sports in general, certainly that's the headline, but there's so much good stuff in the spring sports. If you want to call it the weakest points, it's softball because it's a first year under the Malveaux, and it's disappointing that men's golf wasn't able to get a little bit further to defend that national title, but they still made it so far. So folks, we talk about lamenting what happened in your fall with your football, and we always recognize that's what's king here, and it always will be. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have so much to be proud of in these spring sports for Auburn, individually, as a team, so much to go on, and let's just talk about this. Track and field, we don't get to talk about them enough here, but when we get the opportunity to, we're going to gush about Coach Leroy Burrell and what he's done, taking over from Coach Ralph Spry a couple of years back, who had a strong end to his career here at Auburn too. But we have gone from being recognizable in the track and field space to now 2 years in a row being in position to win a national title, at least on the men's side of things. Last year, 1 point away from winning outdoor national championships on the men's side. This year, they come in 4th, and we're very close in the point spread, depending on which events, that were
came really close.
But they did get 3rd place overall, so 1 higher in indoor. So obviously, I have grown in my affinity for track and field since doing what I do now, covering the Auburn experience. We used to do Tiger Tracks, and Jessica and I just talk about this all the time. I guess we just had to stop doing that show for them to improve. That was the recipe. Not a great coach and a great program.
Yeah, no, that's right. Coach Leroy Burrell continues to impress me. Came from a very successful program he built in Houston at his alma mater to coach Auburn, and has had an immediate impact with this team. This was his 2nd year. Am I right in that, or 3rd?
I believe technically this would be his 3rd year if I've got my numbers correct.
I think that's right. Well, and 2 out of the 3 years has them very close to winning or placing for a national championship podium or on the podium, and just a remarkable job. So I know we said it last week, but if if you can remember, the Auburn athletics calendar does not end after baseball and softball. There's still these athletes that play track and field in Tracktown, USA, at the NCAA championships. And if you were not keeping up with it this week, you missed out. But now they did not get the team national championship, like Kyle said. They were 1 point away last year, just a few points away this year. And it was a really exciting end. It definitely came down to the last two events this year, if you were following it. But like Kyle said, had some individual national championships again this year for Auburn track and field. Jacoby Tharp won the 110-meter hurdles, which is just an unbelievable feat when you think about it. There's no way I could
running
jump
fast and jumping just doesn't seem like that should go together.
Especially if I'm not being chased by like a bear.
That's different.
I'm being chased by a bear. I feel like I'm gonna run and jump as much as I can to survive. But just for competition's sake, Jacoby Tharp's the best at it in the country. And then again, the 4x100 meter relay team wins the national championship. The back-to-back team with different individuals on the team. So whatever's happening on how they train for that and how the system is in place for Coach Burrell and his staff, they have got it figured out. Congratulations to those individuals and Jacoby Tharp again on just amazing job of representing Auburn and being victorious at the national championships.
Yeah, and don't forget too, the women had several representatives there as well to place them within the leaderboards. Several places further down, but to have people there to be in a spot to compete for those points is a big thing. You got to get people to the national championships to be able to even have a shot at doing what they're doing. The men certainly are in a great position right now, 2 years in a row coming within points of being in that number one overall spot. So I feel like we can rest assured that Auburn track and field under Coach Leroy Burrell is here to stay. Back to back 4x100. I mean, just the relay team was just outstanding, men's and women's. A lot to be excited about.